It's me, Channel Dog. How are you doing? I, for one, am feeling a little bit reflective, as we have Sega news, but it's not good news. In SegaSammy's review, free-to-play titles over at Sega, including Sonic Rumble Party, did not perform well. In fact, Sonic Rumble Party was cited as weak performance. And the Rovio acquisition hasn't gone too well for Sega. Well, I could have told you that. And as a result of this, Sega's fabled Super Game has been cancelled. The plan with the Super Game to be a live service project, the likes of which we've never seen before, and the likes of which we're sure as hell not gonna see now. And in response to this, Sega have moved over 100 staff from the free-to-play team over to full game production. And I suppose that is a good place to put the priorities. But it does look like there will be some restructuring at Rovio, and we all know what that means. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't want to get too much into that conversation. I just don't think anyone should ever lose their job when they haven't done anything wrong. And that is what everything will always boil down to. But I think I want to talk about Sonic Rumble Party, as that was cited as a game that didn't perform as well as it should have. And I'm not speculating that Sonic Rumble Party is going to end service or anything like that, but I do want to talk about the things that I think held this game back from being a big success, while other Sonic mobile games have been so successful. The idea of making kind of a Sonic party game, with different platforming challenges and boss fights and activities that you can all play with your friends, did seem genuinely exciting, and in the early days I could certainly see the vision. The levels were overall pretty well made, the gameplay worked fine for what it was, and I did enjoy the toy-like visuals. And in the very long, delay-laden run-up to the release of Sonic Rumble, I genuinely didn't understand why they weren't releasing it in that form. But there were more score-based mathematical elements that did need fixing, and still aren't fully fixed. And they only complicated things further when come delay number 2, they added skills to the game. And I enjoyed these as they did at least add some element of character-based movement to the game, but others had pointed out that it does complicate the gameplay loop, especially for newcomers, and I can absolutely see that. And I think feature creep is the thing that hurt Sonic Rumble the most. There was a really cool idea in Sonic Rumble. An online multiplayer competitive 3D platformer. Some stages being race-based, other stages being more about collecting rings. But rather than building off of the best parts of Sonic Rumble in its earlier stages, they instead just kept adding more and more and more to the game, as though absolutely showering it with content was going to make it better. Now, more content isn't a bad thing, but I think with the central gameplay being only kind of 75% of its way out of the marble, I would much rather they had perfected the base gameplay than throwing Planet Wisp at the game or City Escape at the game. And those were fun stages, don't get me wrong, but I think the absolute biggest thing holding Sonic Rumble back was the very nothing control of the characters. There are speed elements in Sonic Rumble, but they are entirely relegated to power-ups, skills, and dash panels. You don't have the innate speed that you do in other Sonic games. There was a high-speed boost mode, and I actually enjoyed that mode, but it was removed from the game. Not to mention that game mode would only be available once in a blue moon. I think this is the thing where no matter how good everything else was, they kneecapped Sonic Rumble, and that is with the lack of innate speed. I understand there is accessibility to keep in mind, but I feel like Sonic has already conquered this. We want to take into account general audience, right? The whole idea is to get the IP out there, but what is the one thing Sonic is known for above all else? He goes fast. That is the thing that made Sonic take off in the 90s beyond just his incredible design and personality. That was the selling point, is he runs fast. And in Sonic Rumble Party, even if it is a different genre of game, you still need Sonic to have a speed element there. And that's not to say it's entirely absent, but there's nowhere near enough of it in Sonic Rumble as it stands. It can be enjoyed as a 3D platformer, but as a Sonic game, that inherent joy of movement is just not present here. Even if we are exploring other genres, that speed does need to be a major factor to justify it being a Sonic game. You want to do a Sonic take on other genres, such as fighting and party games? Please do. We've waited long enough for that kind of thing. But if there's no speed in the game, there's not really Sonic in the game. Sonic Rumble took a huge amount of inspiration from Fall Guys, and Fall Guys is a physics-based multiplayer 3D platformer to all intents and purposes. The difference with Fall Guys being that the characters are weighted in a cumbersome and silly way, and that adds to the challenge of the game. The first obstacle a player has to overcome with Fall Guys is controlling the character. Just like in the original 1991 Sonic the Hedgehog, but to a different effect entirely. The answer here seems obvious to me. Have the characters gradually build speed, and then getting stopped or getting hit cuts off that speed altogether, and then you need to build it up all over again. I really don't think you'd have to change much about the level design to accommodate for that. If we look at successful Sonic mobile games like Sonic Dash and Sonic Forces Speed Battle, you'll notice that those games are inherently fast. Obviously they are auto runners, but you do at least get the sensation of speed out of them consistently. It's hard to really quantify the success of Sonic Dream Team because the numbers and stuff are not public knowledge, but the game is still on Apple Arcade. It had a lot of investment and a lot of additional content, and it was critically acclaimed. And guess what? You could go fast in that game. Sonic needs speed, and that should go without saying. There are games where they've slowed Sonic down significantly, such as Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and Sonic Labyrinth, and guess what? Those games are hated. The whole appeal of Sonic is that he goes fast, and if he doesn't go fast, people hate that. With Sonic Rumble, they tried to keep player retention with gacha gimmicks and characters that you really had to earn, when the component that's kept people coming back to Sonic games for years to come is the thrill. That high-intensity 3D platforming, which just isn't present in Sonic Rumble. Instead, we got Fall Guys with a Sonic coat of paint, and the removal of the more physics-based stuff of Fall Guys, replaced with skills that can be accessed by the press of a button. So you'll see your little character dash forward for a time, but they won't sustain it and you won't get to control it. And you know what's so weird to me is that this felt like an opportunity to bring back momentum-based platforming for Sonic. The first level has you start off sliding down a hill, except you're sliding down on your tushy. Imagine if we could roll down that. Be like a big online multiplayer Marble Blast kind of game. The controls we have now for Sonic Rumble are just nothing. Movement has zero appeal to it. And again, the skills are just a quick spectacle. Making a Sonic game like this just makes no sense. If you're going to ape another genre, you need to do it with your own identity, and speed is the identity of Sonic, when it comes to a gameplay standpoint anyway. Personally, I think there are dozens and dozens of challenges in this game that you could cut out. There's a very claustrophobic ring hunt with these falling platforms. You could cut that. There's not a lot of space to move. It's not a lot of fun. This game's idea of ball physics is absolutely abysmal, so any level that involves pushing a ball around, why am I not the fucking ball? Let's be real here. The City Escape soccer minigame, bin it. It doesn't work correctly. I think they could refine it back to mostly races and some ring hunting stages. Some of the score attack levels, like beating up Movie Shadow in Tokyo, yeah, those are cool too. But I think they really needed to just refine it down to the stages that work really well, the game types that work really well, and then find a way to add more of a physics element to the gameplay. Then this would be Sonic Rumble. And when you look at it, their ways of salvaging this game have really just been anything but high-speed gameplay. We'll add the Smurfs, we'll add the Care Bears, which is fine, whatever, you know, I don't really care too much about that. But it just feels to me like they half finished their fundamental concept for this game and just kind of ran with it. And then they expect people to keep coming back to it so that they have a chance at unlocking a character with a ridiculously high red ring price. And then red rings cost ridiculous real-world prices, and yes, there are certain ways to get them, and they've improved that, but I don't think the improvement is substantial enough. I'm still not getting these skins that I'd like to have. They really did need to reevaluate the priorities of this game during that delay period, and they didn't. They just kept adding on top of it, and now you've got a game here that's just buckling under its own weight. Also, twice my application for the creator program has been rejected. There are people that literally report on data mined leaks that are in the creator program, yet a channel with 100,000 subscribers and a Sonic-centric audience in a big way doesn't make the cut. See, that's why the game failed. They didn't have me in their creator program. That's exactly why. I'm kidding. But I think it speaks largely to mismanagement. And the end result is a game that is incredibly commercial, but doesn't have a great deal of substance. The levels are mostly fine. The gameplay, if you can accept that it's not a high-speed game, works. It is more polished than not, but it is just very badly managed from top to bottom, from priorities to pricing, which just makes it so difficult for me to recommend to anyone when we've got games like Crossworlds that tap into that high-speed Sonic experience. I think what we really needed out of Sonic Rumble was first and foremost, just a foot racer. That is when Sonic Rumble is at its best, when you're just doing those race stages. Having a boss fight or a team battle to break that up in there is fine, but I think the game should have predominantly been racing because that is the thing that fits Sonic the best, and it needed the speed. Without that, we just end up with a game where basically anything goes. This thing tried so hard to be as general audience friendly as it possibly could, and we end up with a game that is just nobody's favorite. Which is why it's really no wonder to me that this one didn't explode out of the gates in the end. I thought it was going to, but I'm not surprised to see it kind of wilt like this now after the overall performance of its release. I think they ought to go back to the drawing board of this one. Take what they've learned from Sonic Rumble and put it into a new project. That said, it doesn't look like that's their priority anymore. They want to work on full game titles, and that's fine. If we get a bigger Sonic team out of this, then that in itself is a good sign. It's just a shame. I really can see the potential here, but they just haven't met it. And I think we really are kind of too far in now. People have seen everything they have to see of Sonic Rumble, and it just hasn't delivered. What do you guys think? Do you think it's too late for Sonic Rumble? Do you like Sonic Rumble as it is? Comment below, discuss. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. If you feel compelled, hit the subscribe button. And apparently the hype button's a huge help, so yeah, you could do all that, or do none of it. I don't really mind. I'm not forcing you. And now, a special shout out for the patrons in the $5 and above tier. We have Manauza, KB, Twilord, Biotin, Sirius the Skeptic, and Mr. SP. KO Bennett, incorporate a fish PNG into the next vid. Sure, okay, I'll do that. Dare Denny, Sad Goku, Ghostly Phantom, Xanderwolf, Channel Pup, Council of Geeks, Carl X, RT0, Marv Animation, Grant Allen, Josh Strider, Silver, Ben Raven, Basic Content, Gideon Wells, Press Play to Jason, Joseph Tribble, and Cho Henshin. Thank you folks so much for being so generous. And as for the rest of you watching, my videos are a buffet. Go grab yourself a plate. Peace.